Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry! With 0.6 of a second remaining. The brilliant shooting of Stephen Curry continues. Back to Green, into the hands of Spurwell. Fast break down to Weber. He turns. Look up behind the back. And the step and the foul. What a play by Weber.
I've never seen a shooting display like this. Never.
37 in a quarter.
Swing and misses. Curry splits the defense behind the back. Fires a three. Oh, he puts it in. What a spectacular move.
That could be the greatest move I've ever seen.
Here's Curry for the record.
It's good. And there it is. Stephen Curry, the all-time three-point king in the NBA.
Fuck it. We'll do it live.
You are in the Warriors Huddle with me, Bram, and with me, per usual, my master of all things video and sound, Maxine.
How's it going?
And my boy and producer, MT.
What's up, Dub Nation?
I planned you are in the Quinten post huddle and then just fumbled it. Really, I got it on my notes. I was so happy about it. I was super proud. And then just forgot to say it in the whatever it takes 2 seconds since this thing started. So I've already screwed up the humor. Boys, how are you?
I'm a little stressed out because you keep on introducing me as the master of all things sound, and then you continue to sound like you're in the bottom of a well, and I can't do anything about it. So it's a real catch-22 for me.
Yeah, I mean, if you were a master of all things sound, you could do something about it. I don't really know. I mean, I'm really disappointed. I don't mind telling you that. You would have to literally build a microphone for me since I am using the mic on my camera right now. So this might not fall into your, in particular, status as a master. But, it's not up to me. It's up to the people out there listening to think whether or not this is your fault.
Right. I mean, evidently the word master is not an apt description for what I am right now. So just really failing at this.
The person who's terrible at all things video and sound. I'm just spitballing here. I'm still reeling from the whole Quinten post thing, so I wasn't ready for criticisms on the sound as well. Gentlemen, we've got a weekly award show. We've got awards to hand out. Some ones I'm excited for. A quick, stupid question to sidetrack us before we get there. So if you're watching on YouTube, then we've got a little opening video that's dope. I'm really proud of it. I love to watch it every time. But now there's a section that gets me, I don't know, frustrated, sad. I'm not sure what the right word is, but it's Clay. It's the little, we've got highlights from Clay that are in here. At any point, do we take those out? Or is that just a bitter suggestion from a guy who's angry at the way the season's unfolding?
I mean, what are you going to replace him with? All Quinten post highlights?
That's right.
I was thinking some Gui stuff too.
And some Gui stuff. Okay. You could probably do that. I think overall it's probably bitter. I mean, we've already moved his statue into the bay. I think that's punishment enough.
Factually, and it would really cut against Maxime's New Year's resolution of just bringing love and togetherness to everybody at all times, like that, it wouldn't fit there at all. And I have to admit that I started to think that, watching the video now, and then the very next highlight was Baron Davis. And I was like, well, maybe I'm being a little ridiculous on this too, because it's been a while since the We Believe dunk heard around the world.
Yeah, I mean, evidently it's a part of all of this sort of stuff, which is why ultimately we should just dump everything for Quinten post highlights. I think that's the only thing that matters anymore.
All right, I'm just going to say, you are in the Quinten post huddle, and I am, all right, with me, per usual, my terrible things sound of all time, Mr. Maxime Sedette.
It's not going good.
Let's hand out awards. These are our weekly Warriors awards. We've got 3 at least to hand out. Let's start with our Jesus Shuttlesworth. For the player of the week, I have head faked you boys because you think I'm going to say Quinten post here, but I'm not. I'm going back to Gui Santos, baby. And it's way less tongue-in-cheek. Yeah, so we are about a week removed from the last time we did a show like this. I threw out a Gui Santos, and I mean, he deserved it, but it was also almost a frustrating way to say, I don't like how the season's going, and so I'm going to use a name you wouldn't expect to highlight that we're having, not the kind of success that we wanted. No tongue in cheek this time. I take that back entirely. He's had another couple of impressive performances, had 16-5 in 24 minutes versus the Kings, 19-7 in 27 minutes against Chicago yesterday with 5 threes, and is starting to look much more comfortable. After the fifth three, had a little 3-point celebration, was no longer like hustling back and like locking in to make sure he didn't screw anything over. He's feeling comfortable enough now where he's letting the other team know that it went in. He's developing the kind of things you see with someone who's comfortable with success. So he is my Jesus Shuttlesworth player of the week. And I got a follow-up question. How many times for you guys, a subjective thing here, but how many times for you guys as a fan does someone need to go for more than 12 points before you believe in, okay, he can do that? Like it's no longer like the outlier, like, okay, every now and again we'll have a rookie or a walk-on type player who goes for 20 or something, but it's bullshit. You're not expecting it next time. It's going to disappear. How many times does somebody have to do it where you now think, okay, this guy's a rotational piece? And I'll call this the Gilbert Arenas question, because I'll admit to you, Gilbert Arenas didn't play most of his career in Golden State, but he certainly started here. And his rookie year, it was a shitburger season. The Warriors had given up on it, and they just started letting Arenas start. And he started going for 20s. He had like 20, 25, 27. And I remember thinking, bullshit. This is, it's just getting usage, man. It doesn't mean anything. They don't sign him, and then off he goes. And he starts averaging that for the Wizards, right? And so getting back to the question, how many times before you guys believe?
For me, it's a long time. I think I'm jaded by our rookies playing well and making all rookie first teams and then not coming back and being the same player. So it's a full season for me. I need to see them score 12, not only for one season, but into the next season. Otherwise, like I feel like an Eric Pascal repeat where really good player and we get hyped up and he makes, an all rookie team. And then it just never really fully does the Luther curl, fully closes the loop on the potential and the talent. And, it's not 12 points ever again.
Apply that to Gui. And Quinten Post, I'm sure we'll talk about too. But Gui has now had 3 fairly solid games, and 2 in a row here. Are you anywhere close to believing in him? I saw something on social media that compared Quinten Post and Gui Santos to Bielitsa and Otto Porter. They're not aiming for the moon. They're not saying they're going to be all-stars, but, contributing guys on a big team club. Do you believe in Gui Santos yet? Or just like you were saying, no, I got to see this for a full year?
I still got to see it for longer. I'm encouraged by it, but, the reason why they are left open is because people don't want to leave Schroeder and Buddy Hield and Steph Curry open, or Andrew Wiggins the way he's playing. So if they continue to score 12 points at that clip, then the defense will tighten up, and then that'll be the true barometer if it's something they can be consistent with.
Well, it's kind of what we saw with Hield this year, right? He starts off the season on fire, then becomes a defensive focus and crashes back down to earth. I'll tell you one thing I don't need to see for a full year to tell you that it's an elite combo. The combination between Gui Santos' hair and mustache, I'm on board. If he was on another team, I think it would drive me crazy. I don't know. It's not up to me to say whether or not someone else's hair and facial hair is good looking, but I can tell you that it would annoy me on another team. Here, I love it. Dude. It's like Leisure Suit Larry. I'm just awed by it every time, and I hope that he's able to maintain this and his 12 points per game as we go forward here. How about you, Maxime? What's it take before you believe?
I think a full season is about right. In part, that's because, and I don't want to disparage him too much, but Podziemski has kind of crashed down a little bit. And I think it's a lot of what MT was saying. You start scouting him, you start understanding his tendencies more, you realize that he's a threat and you can neutralize it more easily. And then the players that can push through that hurdle ultimately become people that we can really trust, because then that they can actually compete in the NBA. I feel like there's a trajectory that you see guys go through, right? Either you get drafted at the top, first round lottery pick, and that's a whole different conversation. But if you're not in that conversation, maybe you're coming up through the G League and it's just, you got a hurdle to get onto an NBA bench, right? And then your next hurdle is, okay, well, now I'm going to get some spot minutes, and that's probably coming in garbage time, and maybe you look really great. And then ultimately you start to get rotational minutes. And then you surprise guys. And I think in both of these cases, these are large dudes that are surprising people with some of their versatility, with their ability to stretch the floor. But I haven't yet seen flashes that tell me, oh, okay, this is something that's going to be able to transcend when rotations tighten, right, in the playoffs or in the next season when they're getting paid more attention to. It does feel a lot like Pajemski. I hope Pajemski can break through it. I mean, I hope Gui Santos can break through it too, but there's a reason that he hasn't been elevated earlier. And I think, there's probably going to be a little bit of a comeback to earth moment.
Let's work backwards. Do I already believe in Gui Santos? No, let's not be fucking ridiculous. It's been 2 games. I like him. My ceiling on what I thought his skill set is a lot higher now, and he's got our attention. And I hope that he continues to build on what he's put there. Am I positive that he can continue to contribute at this level because he helped us lose to the Kings and beat Chicago? No, I am not. Yeah, I don't need quite as much as you boys do. I'll distinguish between, can I trust him for the rest of his career and can I trust him for the rest of this season? Career, I'm with you guys. Show me for a full year, and Pods is the perfect example. This season, if they put in like 25 straight games where they've gone for 15, do I believe that they can continue that on this season on this team? Yeah, you've got my attention there. Do I think it's definitely going to carry over into next year? No, whole different year, whole different defensive focus. But either way, there's still some time for Gui Santos. All right, your boys is Jesus Shuttlesworth.
Yeah, I mean, we talked. I think the other person that we need to celebrate here is Quinten Post. And there's a fefew reasons for that. One, he's the 52nd pick overall and just went for 20 points in as many minutes. Got in a couple of rebounds and assists as well. Am I ready to anoint him the next Nikola Jokic? Yeah, I am. Obviously kidding a little bit, but that 3-point shot looked
a little bit. You're kidding just a little bit. He's close to the next
exactly.
But I mean, he's not there yet.
It's a hair away from 33, 22, and 17 last
night. There, dude. Right there. A couple of MVPs coming for sure. We just need Russell Westbrook to unlock his potential, and then we'll be there.
I was just about to suggest, let's make a trade. We could put in Draymond, we can put in Kuminga, and fuck it, let's put in Curry. We'll get Russell Westbrook back, and then we'll have the exact same 2-man that is currently working in Denver. No, I thought it's been a long time since we've had, maybe ever, right? In the modern era, there's never been a stretch 5. And I think that's actually true, right? Like some of our best bigs going back to Bogut, this is not their game. And so to have somebody that can reliably hit a 3, granted, small sample size, but it looked good. It looked consistent, and guys are closing out on him, and obviously he can shoot over the top of them. That's a really, really exciting thing. If nothing else, the fact that he put in 5 assists and then was able to hit the 3 reliably, that's enough of a recipe for a type of big that we've never had before in the modern Warriors era. There's a lot to be excited about, and he's a humble dude. He's a sweet guy. I think he fits the Warriors ethos kind of off the court too. Peace and love. I feel like he's the exact representation of my New Year's resolution.
Still annoys me. Even in the context of humor, that still annoys me. Some compliments for Quinten Post. First, a compliment for Draymond Green. And I didn't pull the clip, so we won't be able to include it here. But Maxime, I'll send it to you afterwards, and it will be included on the audio side. Draymond Green, during the training camp, went out of his way to say, who's impressed me? Quinten Post. He showed me intelligence. He showed me a stroke. He's physical. And so just the idea that he's kind of ahead of that curve, props to him for sure. And then the other observation I liked about Post. So, his shooting was great. Hit 5 threes, went for a career high 20, I think. 20 and 5 with 5 threes in 20 minutes. But the thing that I also think is important to point out is that he was setting incredible screens, had a dime to Wiggins. And what that shows me is that he's not always going to shoot higher than 60% from the field. And not all of his threes are going to fall. You can't count on that for sure. So the physicality stuff, his ability to set screens, that should be there consistently. His ability to see an open cutter, that should be there consistently. And so we got a giant grain of salt. He's done it 1 game, and so if we need a full 82, there's another 81 before we can believe. But hey, upside here.
One thing too that struck me when towards the end of the game when they were like, "Oh, and he's got a new career high, 20." And I was sitting there thinking, I was like, how many times has Steph Curry scored 20 in a quarter? And like, this is Quinten Post's like biggest moment in his life, breakout moment. And I was like, and I looked it up, and Steph Curry has scored 20 points or more in a quarter 38 times in his career.
Wow.
So it's like, like we're celebrating Quinten, and shout out to Quinten Post, like amazing game. I'm on the Quinten Post train too, but it just was shocking to me. It helped contextualize just how great Steph Curry is. It's like Quinten Post's best game of his entire life as a human being still doesn't equal most of, like 38 times of what Steph Curry has done in a single quarter.
What you're underlining there is not just greatness, casual greatness, and greatness that we may be taking for granted. You know what I mean? Like that you expect it out of him. And so that you no longer underline it when it happens. And I'm stealing this take from you, MT, so I'll give you credit for it. But the other thing that needs to be added here is the story from Quinten post game about the ride that he gave to Steph Curry. I think we've got that. Let's go ahead and play it here. And while we're pulling it up, it's another bullet point on Steph Curry's casual greatness, because I'm willing to say there is nobody on the all-time top 50 list who would have done this for a rookie. Let's hear what he did.
A few months ago, so I haven't even touched the court yet. We came home from a long road trip. I was up here, and I think it was like 2:30 at night, and we were at the airport, right? And I'm trying to get an Uber to go home, but the Uber service isn't working. Everybody's kind of leaving. Hi, QP, you good? I'm good. Steph walks by, and Steph's like, "Are you good?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good. I figured it out." And he's like, "No, what do you mean? Like, how long I can get an Uber?" And Steph's like, "Are you trying to go home?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got you." So at 2:30 at night, maybe 3 o'clock, I don't know, whatever. Steph's like, "I got you," and he drove me home. He made a little detour, and I mean, that just shows, how he is as a person. And at that point, probably out of the 50 people that were on the airport, Steph was the last person that needed to worry about if I got home, But that's just the person he is. Great teammate, and then obviously everything on the court speaks for itself. So I thought that was cool to share.
What road trip was that coming back from?
I'm not even sure anymore. It kind of mingles together. But we came home from a long road trip. We were at the airport, and he just made sure that I got home safe. Took a little detour, and
how long a detour do you think that would have been for him?
He probably took an extra 20 minutes on his trip.
He was going home to down like the Atherton area. He lives by Chasing.
Okay.
Well, my family was staying in Redwood, so it was kind of towards him, but I don't even think he knew that. He might have honestly gotten me home.
I'll go with 20 minutes.
Put it out there. Yeah.
You can cut it right there. I'd like to. So incredible story. Even more incredible follow-up from Anthony Slater. How long was the detour? Because that's the fucking key question to me. And I wish someone had asked a follow-up of 20 minutes one way. Was it 10 minutes out of the way? And then so it's 20 minutes total? Or did Steph add 40 minutes to a drive home that was happening at 2:33 a.m.?
But also, I don't know, has Quinten Post been to Steph's house? How does he know how long the detour is? Like, let the story be the hero, not how long Steph Curry was on a detour. Like, how would you know that?
Well, at the risk of ruining what's now going to be a Judgment Theater, he might know, because if it was me, I am casually mentioning it as many times as I can during that time. Ooh, this 20 minutes is a little longer than I thought, dude. It is us. It's 3:30. Weird. It's 3:30, huh?
Yeah.
Take us a minute.
Check your phone. I just sent you a pin of a map of the detour that I'm taking right now from your house to my house.
So I was going to ask who else on the Warriors would have given him a ride home, but we don't have to answer that because we know the answer. Nobody offered shit. Steph was the only dude. So there you go. So that leaves us, gentlemen. Judgment Theater. Which of us would give a friend a ride home at 2:30 in the morning? You can start with me. Do I give someone a ride home at that time?
I'm pretty sure that this has happened and you've refused to give me a ride home. So I think not. No, you know what? I'm actually kind of kidding. I think it obviously is situation specific. But I think you are the type of dude to do that. And I think ultimately 20 minutes isn't that far out of your way. Now, if we're talking about at the end of a road trip, you're exhausted, you want to go home. I could see you being a little cranky and just avoiding me so as to not even pretend that you saw, and therefore you wouldn't have to offer. But I think if I approached you and said, "Hey, can I get a ride home?" you would begrudgingly do it because you're actually a nice, good person.
Appreciate you making you the person. It could be anybody who's like, just only me. You're going to be giving me a ride. MT, what's your guess?
I think we give you a lot of shit for how you would handle situations, but I agree. I think you would offer the ride. I think deep down, you're a good dude, and but I do think that you would do it with a bit of a pissy attitude for it being so late in the morning or early in the morning. So you would do it, but you would let it be known that you are doing it.
20 minutes. All right. So let's take them. Here's my analysis. Depends on when it is and what the level of emergency is, right? We're talking 6 p.m. There's a bunch of other rides you could take. We're getting off a plane. There's taxis, there's Ubers, there's Lyfts. It's not that late. And you live 20 minutes away from me? Fuck no. Hard no. And if you asked, that's rude as shit, dude. Take an Uber. That's preposterous. All right. 2:30 in the morning, but there are ride shares available. So now we're talking like at a time. I would make a gesture, but I would want you to say no. I would say like, oh, it sucks that you have to take Uber. This was real long. I'd give you the opportunity to ask me for it. But if you said yes, I would take it hard. And for the record, Maxime and I went to a Warriors game. This is maybe a month ago. Maxime lives in like Camelot. Like, this motherfucker is at the top of the Berkeley Hills. And so I split the difference, gave him a ride from Chase Center, but to Berkeley's BART. So closer to his house, but not all the way to the tip top of that fucking, Mount Rushmore. So that's, to be fair to Maxime, that's why he was put in the middle of that. So there's my in between.
And that's why your sound sounds shitty too.
Could be. And I agree with you, MT. It is Maxime's fault that my sound sounds this way. Completing the analysis. All right. 2:30 in the morning, emergency situation. We're at the airport. You try to catch an Uber and there's nothing. All the other, to borrow Quinten Post take, the other 49 people have apparently left, from the airport, and it's just me and you. Yes, dude, I'll give you a ride. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna be like, oh, looks like you're stuck here. Good luck with that. So yeah, I'll give you a ride there, but we'll talk about it forever. And I'll be like, oh, I remember that time. I was incredible. I mean, I gave you a ride. So yeah, that's the breakdown. Let's turn to Maxime. I'll just jump right to the last one. 2:30 emergency scenario. Yes, of course. I think Maxime might do the first one. The 6 p.m. There's a bunch of other rides, and he's like, "Hey, hop in, dude. I'll give you a ride." I think he might do that. I'm not sure that he'd want to. I don't know if that's like really like the baseline, but I think it'd be part of that New Year's resolution of like, I need to spread goodness everywhere. So I'm going to put this out into the world and hope it comes back to me. So there's my guess for him. What do you think on Maxime, MT?
I think he does it in the 2:30 a.m. scenario. I don't think he does it in the 6 p.m. scenario.
Maxime, what's the truth?
I might be like, hey man, like, can I offer to pay for the Uber instead? Cause like 6 p.m. is rush hour, and like, where are you going? Actually, like that's not super on the way. Like and then, right. Cause if in the same scenario, you're getting back from a road trip, I'm pretty tired. I want to go home and see my kids, that whole thing. So it's definitely borderline, but I think there is a calculation that we haven't discussed yet, which is that this is Steph as the leader. He sees that Quinten Post is somebody that is going to be a part of this franchise for a long time. There's now speculation that a lot of the ordering that happened between Draymond and Kerr and Steph was about ownership coming to them being like, look, we're not going to be able to make a major trade here. There's nothing that's really happening. Let's make our day-to-day lives a little bit easier and just get on the same page and say like, hey, like we don't want to mortgage the future. And like maybe down the line, we'll give you some points in the organization, which says to me that Steph is going to be a part of this franchise for a very, very, very long time. And so doing something like this for Quinten Post isn't just about doing this for Quinten Post. It's about doing this for the organization, stepping up and sort of being that multi-generational leader. And I think Steph sees the importance of that. And so it's not just about giving a homie a lift. It's about It's about the long-term commitment to the organization.
Surprised Steph didn't tap somebody else on the shoulder. You know, like Gui.
Yo.
Oh, this guy. Time to learn how to be a leader. Here's a follow-up question. Does offering to pay for somebody else's Uber nice or asshole move? My wife or my father-in-law gave my wife a call, and on Valentine's Day, he wants her to give him a ride to the airport. He's going somewhere. And, you know, it's fucking Valentine's Day, dude. So, like, uphill climb. Obviously, my wife wants to do everything she possibly can for her dad. And I suggested to her, tell him we'll pay for the Uber. And she reacted like, well, that's a gigantic asshole suggestion. Wow. You know, like, if I throw that out there, it's a fuck you to my dad. Do you agree? You know, like, if offering to pay for the Uber, is it a dick move?
I think in that scenario, it rises to the level of dick move, but I think you can only get away with it with like adjacent friends, like level tier 2 and lower, or strangers that that you're just being nice to.
I think you're 100% right. When I suggested it, I felt good about it. But as you started saying that, like, substituted it for something else. Like, someone was like, "Hey, let's go to dinner," and I was like, I'm not going to do that, but I'll pay for the dinner and someone else is going to be there. You know, it's like, well, I don't know. And it feels kind of like an aggressive thing. So, yeah, we'll call it a pseudo dick move. I didn't want to steal the spotlight on MT. What's your guess with MT in the 2:30 ride scenario?
Well, let's be serious. I mean, of course he's doing it, right? I think, again, there could be extenuating circumstances where he uses things. I don't want to say uses, where there are legitimate reasons why he just needs to get home. You know, it's like, it's been a long trip, and actually, like, the wife is away right now, and like, somebody's got to be there to watch the kid, that kind of thing. But I think he does it.
I think I would be passive aggressive. I'd wait for other people to go. I'd make some other suggestions, that kind of thing, and then I would do it. I think MT would take the bull by the horns. I do not think you'd want to. I don't think it'd be like, yeah, hooray, here's an opportunity. I think you'd notice it, and then I think you'd have a team meeting about that shit before it was you. You know, let's not leave. You know, if anyone else noticed, this guy's there. And then at the end of the day, if you're still there, you take him. But it's not the immediate magnanimous, I'm all over this.
It actually would be similar to Steph, and not because he and I are the same, but I would notice it, and then I would just offer, but I wouldn't make a deal out of offer. I wouldn't do the team meeting, because then I think it would embarrass Quinten in a way that is unfair to him. I would just do it and not tell anybody I did it. I'm curious. I would have loved the follow-up question from Slater to be, what did you talk about in the car ride as well? And then, like, I'm sure Steph doesn't care, but I would have appreciated it to be one of those stories that people just didn't hear about.
That's a gold follow-up. My follow-up would have been, how much is your rookie contract, and why don't you own a fucking car? I'm like, what's going on here, dude? Yeah. This does not make any sense to me at all. You make more money this year than I'm going to make over the next 10 years. When I go to the airport, I have a ride. Let's not be ludicrous in this scenario. All right, to our next award, the Chris Mills on Your Team Bus Award for the Asshole of the Week. Gentlemen, I don't feel real good about mine on this one. So if you guys have one, go ahead, far away. Guess you guys don't feel real good about yours either.
I feel like I'm doubling up. I mean, I don't know this situation beyond what was just been reported, but it probably needs to go to Jimmy Butler again. I mean, he missed the team plane and got suspended for 2 more games. And on the night that he missed the plane, he went to some paddleball event or whatever, or something. So, it's probably the Jimmy, but also, probably unfair. He's in a situation that he doesn't want to be in, and the Heat are digging in their heels, and they should just let him go, and so everybody can move on.
I'll give you one, but this makes me feel like I have Twitter fingers to steal Steph Curry's take. My asshole of the week, Steve Kerr. And here's why. Why the fuck are we this deep into the season when we just now realize that Quinten Post can play? Like, I'm not expecting him to play 30 minutes right from the jump. Like, I get that. And I'm not expecting him to be like a large portion of the rotation. But in a season that's defined by, we are playing so many people. It's like, look at this, we've got 11-man rotation. And like, what are we going to do? And a season defined by, we need more shooting. And a season defined by, we need more scoring. Why is it taking this long to get a longer than 5-minute look at a player who apparently can shoot and a player who apparently can add size? Because that's the other subplot to these things. So, I mean, I'd still top 5 coach, one of the tent posts of the dynasty. We would not be here without Kerr. And so the reason I didn't feel good about, I don't want to be one of these Twitter guys who's taking shots at a Hall of Fame coach, but I was frustrated by that, man. Like, why are we, how did we never have any glimpse at this dude until wherever we are, way past the half point in the season?
Well, it might be that he wasn't this good yet. Maybe he needed that time in Santa Cruz to get better. I mean, Jordan Poole needed it before he was Jordan Poole. So that's the only thing I could think of in defense of Steve Kerr. But absent of that, I think you're right. I think it's fair to question if he should stick to his not playing rookies policy so closely, especially when we're struggling so mightily.
I agree. So I'll just move on because I was going to say something redundant, but I thought we were going to talk about this sooner. So this is why I was hesitating on it, because I still don't feel super good talking trash about somebody on my own team. But no, Draymond, it is not time for us to move on from the punch. I'm sorry that I'm giving it to Draymond, because I could tell that he's working on it. And if you take his baseline at somebody that was angry enough and violent enough to punch another teammate and potentially knock them out momentarily, like, he's made a lot of progress, right? And I see that and I respect that. But to go from being like, well, I didn't do that, to like, oh, okay, well, sure, I did it, but it wasn't my fault. Like, that guy talked trash first. Like, oh, okay, well, it was my fault, but like, he had it coming, right? To then like, oh, well, why are we still talking about this, right? Like, why shouldn't we just move? Like, you punched a teammate in the fucking face, right? Like, you don't get to decide when we collectively move on from it. I know it's inconvenient, but it was way more inconvenient to punch somebody in the face. So I'm giving it, Chris Mills on the team bus is Draymond on the team bus at this point. More than anybody else has ever been on the team bus.
Dude, that punch was a crossroads. Who knows if it's the actual reason why we took the crossroads we did. But at that time, you know, the Warriors were on the up and up, man. Everything was looking great. We were doing podcasts like, is this roster better than their last championship roster? And then from that moment on, things have not been going super great, you know, and a lot of reasons. I'm not saying that the punch didn't force us onto that road, but you know, it was that off season that things kind of started to overuse that road trip analogy, that we kind of turned around and started going home. You know, it's a whole thing. All right, to our last award, the Where's Waldos. This is something we've spotted during the week. My award here isn't something that I just spotted. It's making the rounds. It was on the Morning Roast. It's all over social media. I saw it on Twitter. I saw it on a bunch of different spots. And it is this take from Bill Simmons, who did a full fake trade podcast and had a suggested Anthony Davis trade to the Golden State Warriors. Here's that take.
The other way. We're going to trade Anthony Davis to the Golden State Warriors.
Oh, man.
And we're going to get back your buddy Draymond Green, Schroeder's expiring, Kuminga, Jackson Davis, Golden State's 25 and 27 first, and a 2029 pick swap that's LA's call. We're cashing in.
We cut out how Bill justified it because I don't want to steal his content. I don't want to aggregate more than we need to. And that's a good podcast. It's worth listening to. But in essence, he was saying, look, they just got to get off this LeBron thing. It's not working anymore. You know, you can't kowtow him anymore. And it's time to move on. But in essence, because that was pretty fast, here's the trade he suggested. The Warriors get Anthony Davis. The Lakers get Draymond, Schroeder, JK, TJD, and then all the firsts, right? 2025, 2027, and then a pick swap in 2029. So what the Warriors would look like afterwards, for those following at home, and I don't know who would be starting necessarily. This is just a guess, right? But possible starters, Pods, Steph, Wiggins, AD, Loon, and then coming off the bench, Heald, Gui, Quinten Post, GP2, and Moody. And no, I mean, not hockey subs, but that would be essentially the top 10 on the back end of it. All right. So first question, MT, you are Mike Dunleavy Jr. You get a call. This is the offer. Do you say yes or no?
No. And I hang up pretty quickly.
Why?
I'm just not a fan of trading that many players for one player. I get that Anthony Davis is very talented and when healthy, one of the top 5 to 7 players in the league, but I don't think he's worth 7 players, especially at age 31, given his injury history. So just to give up that many pieces, that many players for one, to me is just a non-starter, even though it probably makes sense. And when you listed out the roster, that's a fairly strong 10-man rotation, but I can't ever feel comfortable giving up saying that 7 NBA players are worth the equivalent of 1.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll start downsides. Downside for me, AD is an injury waiting to happen. I mean, this year has been fairly healthy, but his past is checkered to say the best, man. And so to trade 7 players for an injury waiting to happen, concerning, absolutely concerning. And then take that next step, 7 players for an injury waiting to happen, and it does not make us the favorite. Does not even make us the favorite in the West. Makes us more interesting, makes us the team that nobody wants to play in the West, but it does not make us the favorite. Upside, I just gave it to you. It makes us a team nobody wants to play, and timeline, if what we've been trying to do is come up with a home run swing that gives Steph a guy who is on the same timeline window, there you go. He fits that certainly better than Jimmy Butler or Zach LaVine, any of those guys. So I see where it is. Sleepless night for me. Be a really hard sleepless night. And I think I say no. Here's why. This is not reporting. This is straightforward guessing. If I was Mike Dunleavy Jr. and if I'm Lacob and I see Steph and I see Draymond laboring through this year and I see all the stories and how frustrated they are, what I'm telling them is, we are gearing up for one more championship push. Not this year. It's not this year. This year was about resetting our books. This year is about getting out of the tax. And it's this off season and it's next year where we make the move, where we really get a sense of it. And so if that's what it is, if I'm right about that, that sleepless night turns into a no tomorrow. Because I'm going through all that. And if that trade's probably still there this off season too. And so I'd prefer wait. See what the draft pick is that I have this year, 2024. Does that guy make a difference? Can I include that in a trade? And then make the call, so I'm waiting.
Yeah, that's right, which is crazy because Anthony Davis is absolutely one of the key difference makers, but we're also currently 11th in the standings. Granted, just, 3 or 4 games back from the 6th seed, but you get rid of half of the roster. You're going to have to be Tom Thibodeau playing these guys, 67 minutes a game just to get into the playoffs at all, which just increases the likelihood that Anthony Davis is going to get injured along the way. So it's a pretty rough scenario given where we are in the standings at this point. Now, if we were sitting in the 4, 5, 6 range, things were looking really good. We can sign some guys on minimum contracts and sort of coast our way into a guaranteed playoff spot. Maybe that's a different conversation, but I there's just no way that it's reasonable right now. This team is sitting at 500 in 11th overall. It's not the right time to dump half of the roster, like MT said.
Magic button question. If Draymond had a magic button, 2 of them, one magic button he presses, he finishes his career with Steph here in Golden State. The other magic button he presses, he finishes his career in Los Angeles as a Laker with LeBron. Which of those 2 buttons do you think Draymond presses?
Assuming the contracts are equal, Steph.
Yeah. You agree?
I agree. I think he knows that it's better for his legacy overall. Maybe he likes hanging out with LeBron more than he likes hanging out with Steph, but he can go to LA anytime he wants. This is the legacy defining thing. 2 guys on the same team their entire career. He gets to talk that shit to Charles Barkley or whatever for the rest of his life.
And I think one other thing is I think he factors in Clay leaving. And if he were to leave Steph too and Steph stayed, he would feel bad about both of them leaving Steph behind. I think he has a little more loyalty for that now because Clay left, and he's like, I'm going to ride out with Steph no matter what.
I'm going to agree with you guys, but I'll complicate it a little bit. Yes, I agree. If it's a public thing, if like it's like the decision, and there's like a televised button pressing, he's immediately pressing the Warriors button and hard, like smash it, like exploding the button by pressing it so hard. If it's a little bit different, if it's behind the scenes and he can tell people it was a trade, but if it was up to him, he would have stayed here. But he secretly was behind the trade. Would he make it a sleepless night? Yes. Whoa. Yes, he would. And then ultimately, I think that next morning he stays with Golden State. But I don't think any button exploding pressings happening. I think it's a harder decision for him than it should be. Here's my final question. All right, and it's a way too simplistic way to view this, and it's something we'll explore in a different podcast, probably spend a lot of time on it. But which of these paths, if the goal is to win a championship, which is an oversimplification of what the Warriors' goal is, because the portion of this is honoring legacies, portion of this is being a stand-up franchise, portion of this is making money. There's a whole lot of other things that franchises need to do. But if the only thing they want to do is win a championship next, which one of these tracks gets them there fastest? Track number one more run. That's what we've been talking about. Either right now or during the offseason, you put all your chips in the middle of the table, you surround Steph with anybody you can, you go for one more run. Option number two, enjoy the ride. Don't do anything. Let Steph keep playing. Let JK keep developing. See who Quinten Post is. See who Gui Santos is. Keep the picks. See what happens. Trust in the Warriors organization to just be able to rebottle magic. Or option number three, start over now. Right now. Trade Steph. Trade Draymond. Trade everybody over the age of like 25, and let's start over. Let's start going towards this next road trip. So of those three, which would you guys pick if the only goal was to win a championship as fast as possible?
One more run. I still believe that Steph is capable of leading a championship team to a championship. This is the way to make it happen. However, we are not in a vacuum. I think I'm excited to see Mike Dunleavy Jr. cook in the offseason to see if he can put something together. But if the trade landscape this offseason looks the way it does right now, then we should chill the fuck out and enjoy the ride.
MC?
Yeah, I'm enjoy the ride. Option two. I don't think there's any trade where we don't have to give up enough current players to get a star quality player back that pushes us over the top of OKC. Like, the problem is that their timeline has become a reality, and they now have arguably the deepest team when healthy. Like, they're doing all this and they're not even, Hartenstein and Holmgren aren't even playing right now. So when they get those guys back, like, they're a dangerous team, and then they have like 3,700 first round picks still. So the challenge that most teams face, and we did, was when you get to the contract years, when Shea and Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren and everybody are going to need their max contracts. What Sam Presti and the Thunder can do is just take that player, add 2 first round picks with them, and then bring back a superstar player that's currently in the league right now. And they can do that multiple times over with how many first round picks they have. So they are positioned extremely well to have a long run. And assuming it's health, I don't see any moves that allow us to be in contention with them. We'll have a puncher's chance, but I think we just enjoy the ride and not try to mortgage the future for losing in 5 games, in the Western Conference Finals versus 7 in the first round.
I agree with you. Here's where I disagree. I agree with your entire rundown there, that we are far from contention, and OKC is probably the main reason why. The portion I disagree with is that rationale doesn't lead me to option B. That's option C, what you're describing, man. If the goal is winning a championship again, right? I mean, that's what it is. And you're saying we are far out of contention and there's nothing we can surround Steph with that'll get us there. Then it's C that gets us closer to a championship, right? I mean, it's trading Steph, blowing everything up, and now start getting all the draft picks we could now, and starting to build a brand new roster that's going to contend after OKC. Because, I mean, there's a reason I went last. There's a reason we haven't done this segment yet. And there's a reason I don't want to dedicate any time to it, and I hedged so far with that's not just what they're doing. There's got to be all these other reasons. I think that the option, if I'm Lacob, I'm probably taking B because Steph's fucking earned it and it's up to him. I do not want to watch him in a different jersey. I do not want to watch the portion of the documentary where he's playing for something else. I don't want that, so B. But if it's just championship, and we are conceding, there's not a trade that gets us close to this, then it's got to be blow it up, right? I mean, isn't that kind of what you were just explaining?
It is, but do you have faith that Dunleavy and Lakeup and the team can institute the process and build that up?
No, but if we've already decided that this team doesn't have the talent, cross out A, right? And then enjoy the ride. That's the same thing. Really, A and B are dependent on this team or adding, that just leaves C by elimination, and then you got to hope that they do it. And again, this is not what I want them to do. I do not want them to do that. I want Steph to stay here forever, but I think it's worth saying, it's definitely out there. I have secretly, don't tell anybody else, we'll cut this part from the pod. I have secretly been thinking maybe they tank this fucking year. When they threw away that game against Sacramento and we keep having the 40-point blowout loss to Boston, there's a portion of me that's like, well, I just talked to KP about this draft and it's deep and we're kind of in the lottery right now. I'd almost the best shot is tanking out this year, and then going forward.
Yeah.
What would be really interesting? I'm gonna float this out there. I don't think it's been floated idea. It's this idea that we would do 2 timelines at the same time. And I think with a high lottery pick this time, we could implement a 2 timelines plan. What do you guys think?
Light years. You are light years ahead, my friend. That's just nicely fucking. We were so goddamn close. We were so close, dude. They just nailed the the Wiseman pick. It was what it was. All right, boys. Huge fun. Loved doing this. Certainly true this week. No need for a full wrap up. There might be some changes in our social media approach, so I'm going to save that for next week. With that in mind, go Warriors, and hopefully we'll see you real soon.